Hello everyone. I'm Lindsay from Happy Hour Stitches, and I would just like to personally welcome you to join the Happy Hour Stitches Summer of Finishes Challenge. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, curl up with a quilt, and join me for a few minutes while I share more about myself, about this challenge, and as I share some of the projects that I'll be tackling this summer. So, life is so busy. So any moments that I can spend sewing are very special to me. And that's where the idea for Happy Hour Stitches came from. Wanting to provide achievable quilt patterns, fun seasonal projects, and helpful tutorials for quilters who want to maximize their sewing time. And of course, I will never object to sewing with a cocktail or a glass of wine, a little happy hour. I truly believe that every hour we spend sewing should be a happy one. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this Summer of Finishes that I'm hosting. So this challenge is a way to take what is sometimes a painful or tedious task, like finishing a quilt top, let's be honest. And this challenge turns it into achievable steps that allow us to have this happy and productive time in our sewing spaces each month. So let me explain a little bit more about this challenge. So the Summer of Finishes is aimed at helping us tackle our pile of quilt tops that just needs to be quilted and bound. So we'll follow a very leisurely schedule aimed at finishing those close to done projects. And the schedule also, of course, leaves room plenty of time to start new projects. Maybe you're like me and you have lots of yard work and gardening to do. Maybe you have lots of summer vacations and travel planned. That's totally fine. I promise this schedule that we're following is doable, it's achievable, and it will allow lots of extra time for your summer to be full of fun and outdoors things too. So each month in this challenge, we're going to choose one unfinished quilt top that just needs to be quilted and bound. And then to keep us on track, I've set up a rough weekly schedule. And this schedule will hopefully just give us the motivation to take these small steps toward finishing these projects instead of feeling overwhelmed and stressed to finish things. So each month starts on the first Monday of the month. So in week 1 of each month, we're going to prepare our backing fabrics. We're going to baste those quilt layers together. In weeks 2 and 3, we're going to quilt our quilt. And then in week 4, we're binding, labeling. And so, like I said, we start the schedule on the first Monday of each month, which means that June starts on June 2nd on that Monday. And when we break it down into these weekly schedules, finishing a quilt top feels very achievable, doesn't it? We can choose backing and baste a quilt in a week. That's no big deal, right? We have 2 weeks to machine quilt, no problem at all. And a whole week for binding, we can handle this, we can do this. And then at the end of the summer, we're gonna feel so accomplished. We're gonna feel so proud of ourselves. Now, I will say this challenge is very flexible. So if this schedule doesn't work for you or you want to tackle, maybe more than one project at a time, go for it. I just want to empower you to use this challenge in a way that works for your schedule, that works for your project. There's no rules here. You use this challenge as a way to finish and feel accomplished what you want to do. So I want to give a little bit of backstory about kind of where my passion for finishing quilt tops comes from. So when I first started quilting 15-ish years ago, I started so many projects. I was just so eager to dive in to new things, to learn new techniques, to try new fabrics out. I was joining so many block of the months and quilt alongs because I was so excited to be part of this community. And I became a really good starter of projects. But at that time when I was first learning to quilt, I wasn't very confident in my finishing skills at all. You know, and a big part of that was machine quilting, binding. Like, you know, I wasn't excited about that. I didn't have an interest in doing those things. And you know, that's because they're not always the fun part of the process, right? I think if you would ask a lot of us what our favorite part of the process is, it's choosing fabrics, it's sewing, it's seeing the blocks and the quilt top come together. Maybe it is cutting. But I don't hear very many people say that their favorite part of the process is basting a quilt or machine quilting a quilt. So, you know, when I started so many things and I wasn't finishing them, things began to pile up. And I think part of this is like, you know, basting quilts, machine quilting quilts, binding, these take a lot of resources, right? Like they take up space in our sewing rooms, maybe on our floors. They take up a lot of time. They can actually be physically demanding, like if you're on your hands and your knees basting or you're moving a big quilt top through a machine. And they take talent and skills, you know? And sometimes that feels intimidating. And so I just kept starting projects and then leaving the quilt tops in a pile in my closet to tackle someday. And the thing was, someday was never coming for me. So I had to get real with myself. I couldn't keep starting and never finishing. So I slowly started prioritizing finishing my quilts. And I even went through, I'm going to say about an 8-month period at one point where I did not start any new projects. I didn't work on any projects except finishing up quilts, catching up on that pile of unfinished projects. And let me tell you, by the time I got around to finishing some of those things, I wasn't even excited about some of those quilts anymore, and that was really disheartening. You know, but with every quilt I finished, I felt freer. And me finishing those quilts and encouraging others to finish theirs became something I'm very passionate about. So the thing about unfinished quilt tops is they take up a lot of space. And I'm not just talking about physical space in your home, but also mental space, creative space, emotional space. Unfinished quilt tops can start to feel like a weight on us sometimes. Quilt tops, you know, of course, they take up room in our sewing space. Room that could be used for new projects that you're excited about. They could be used for fabric or tools that are important for you to have. And unfinished projects can also take up mental space. So we may think about them as we're working on other projects. Maybe there's things you need to remember about those projects. Like maybe you have plans for binding or machine quilting. Maybe there was a certain, you know, backing fabric or tool for quilting, thread color that you wanted. And, you know, you're remembering all of that because it's unfinished. And then having too many unfinished projects can also stunt our creativity because we may feel unable to start new projects when we have so many others to finish. We may even stop ourselves from gaining or practicing skills that would help us finish our quilts because we're starting to feel scared and paralyzed by everything. And it also affects us emotionally. You know, unfinished projects can come with a lot of guilt sometimes. It could be guilt over money and time that we spent on something that we can't even use. It could be guilt because we missed being able to gift a quilt or display a quilt for a special occasion, for a holiday, for a birthday, an anniversary, you know? So even if we're not always aware of all of these things, that weight of unfinished quilt tops, that weight it brings is not productive or joyful to our sewing lives. And that's why the Summer of Finishes is so amazing. So I started this challenge last year as a way to motivate myself, and others ended up joining in, and it was just so fun to see everyone's progress and cheer everyone on. And I promise the Summer of Finishes works, and you'll confidently be able to finish at least 3 quilt tops by the end of it. So this challenge kind of works its magic in a few different ways. So first, it provides achievable goals and a schedule so you have something concrete to work towards each week. Second, there is a community aspect, so you can share your progress, you can cheer each other on, and you can feel that accountability that others bring, that kind of holds you accountable to finish things. And lastly, as part of this challenge, we prioritize progress over perfection so that you can feel accomplished and positive about the process. So last year, like I said, I kind of just did it last minute and others joined in. So it was a little more kind of off the cuff and unorganized. But this year, I have so much fun planned. I have so many resources planned. So during this challenge, I'm going to be sharing finishing tips and tricks, motivational videos, and quotes. I'll have tutorials. I'll have product recommendations. There'll be social media aspects, and so much more fun. So there's also a very handy PDF download for you to keep track of your progress and the projects you'll be working on during the summer of finishes. And although it's not required to participate in this challenge, I also have an exclusive newsletter you can sign up to if you choose. It's not required, but you'll get 2 emails a month from July through August, where you'll get all these resources just emailed right to you. There'll be some exclusive kind of discounts and other fun things happening in those emails. So make sure you click the link in this video description to sign up for that email list if you haven't already. And yeah, it's just gonna be so much fun. So this challenge is for any skill level, I promise. I am not an expert at finishing quilts. I'm not an expert machine quilter. I'm not the most efficient person at these things. I just am doing it as like a hobby quilter. And so like, don't be embarrassed by your skills. Don't keep that from holding you back. Like, we're all in this together. And I promise that the tutorials and the tips I'm sharing are for like real life quilters. Like, they're not going to be the most fancy things. They're not going to take you hours to accomplish. They're going to just be like easy things that I know you can do on your home sewing machine. And whether you only have 3 quilt tops, I only have 3 unfinished quilt tops this year. So I have fully caught up on my projects most of the time. Or maybe you're a person that has like 20, but you just want to like get in the habit of prioritizing them. No matter how many you have, I hope you join in. This challenge is for everyone. So like I said, visit the link in the video description. It's going to link you over to a blog post that has the PDF downloads. It's going to have all the information about this challenge. It's going to have the schedule. It's going to have links to, the email sign up, so much more. So, yeah, click that link. And now I will just say that's enough talking from me. I want to share the quilts I'm working on this summer. So I've chosen 3 quilt tops to finish. 2 of them are behind me. So let me kind of walk you through what I'm finishing. I'm just gonna pull these over. Okay, so the first quilt I'm gonna be working on in June is this quilt. It's called Out of the Box. So I actually released this as a Happy Hour Stitches pattern earlier this year. I was working under a deadline and I had time to finish the top before the deadline, but then the quilt pattern came out before I had a chance to finish. And because the quilt pattern was out already, I wasn't feeling in a rush to finish it. So it's not a huge quilt. It's like a lap size, like a smaller throw size. It's just like pretty. And I think it's gonna be a really great summer quilt, which is why I've slotted it in for June, because it kind of reminds me of a nice picnic quilt, like something I can take outside. It's light. It has like very sunny, beachy colors. So I want to have this one finished by the end of June so I can use it this summer. Okay, the next quilt I'll be working on, it's a big one. Okay, so this is my book club quilt. This is so big. You'll see more of it when we get to July. But here, it's a rainbow. Ugh. So this book club quilt is another Happy Hour Stitches pattern. I've made a few of these quilts over the years, but I actually did this as a challenge in 2024. So I documented every single book I read during 2024. So every book in this quilt equates to a book I read in real life. And every color is for each month. So there's 12 colors in this quilt, which is why we have like a rainbow effect. So you'll see that throughout the quilt. So I just actually finished the top a few months ago. And I just want to, you know, I'm just so excited about displaying this quilt. I think it's a really beautiful quilt. So this is on my list to finish in July, and I can't wait to figure out how to quilt this one. And then the last quilt I'll be working on. So I actually, this is cheating a little bit. No, it's not. But this one I actually already have basted and the backing prepped. A nice little Christmas quilt. And I started this quilt in, I want to say November of last year with the intention of finishing it by Christmas. And life got so busy during the holidays. So I basted it. I was getting ready to quilt it. And then I just got too busy and I traveled for Christmas, so I wasn't home. So I never finished it in time. So it's been sitting basted since November. And let me just explain the meaning behind this quilt. I can't remember the pattern name off the top of my head, but it's a Wendy Shepherd pattern. And I chose it because in 2024, we actually lost 2 cats within like a year of each other. One was gray, Harvey, and one was orange, Ziggy, and they just had the best time with our Christmas trees over the years. And we lost them so close together, and so we were actually entering a Christmas season where we didn't have any pets, and that was very sad. So this was kind of like a therapeutic way for me to kind of memorialize them in a Christmas tree, and you know, just we haven't forgotten them at all. So this was a meaningful quilt to work on. And so I'll be tackling this one in August so I can make sure it's done in time for Christmas this year so that I can display it and my cats will all be together as part of our Christmas celebration this year. So that's all I have to share today. So I hope you sign up. I hope you start choosing your 3 quilt tops for the summer. Like I said, this challenge officially starts June 2nd. And I am always available for questions on social media or email. You can email me. So if you're kind of unsure about anything as part of this challenge, if you're feeling overwhelmed or you just need support as you kind of plan what to work on, just let me know. I'm here for you. We're gonna tackle these projects together this year. I just truly want this challenge to be stress-free, enjoyable, and just have us ending the summer feeling so proud and so accomplished, and like I said, a little more free of these unfinished tops so we can feel, you know, confident tackling new things without any guilt. So I will check back in with everyone for the Summer of Finishes starting in June. I cannot wait to see what everyone's working on and cheer you all on. So I'll see you guys in June.